story of Adam and Eve in the early chapters of Genesis is seen as a symbolic explanation of how humans became different from each other. It's important to understand that the hidden meanings in the Bible can be revealed using special keys. Each myth, story, and symbol can be interpreted in at least 7 different ways. To uncover these secrets, you need to turn a key 7 times in a lock. In ancient ceremonies, keys represented discovery and understanding. New members received symbolic keys during their initiation. In the Mithraic rituals, participants had to unlock 7 doors, and in the Egyptian rites about the soul's resurrection, candidates were questioned by gatekeepers before entering. It might seem odd that one story can have many meanings, but that's how the Kabbalah works. In the original Hebrew text, there were codes using numbers and letters to help reveal hidden messages. However, translation and editing have removed these older patterns, so we now need to look into the study of different religions to uncover the secrets in the Bible. For example, ADM, Adam, represents many things. First, it stands for a type of species or generation. It also symbolizes Adonai, the creating Lord. ADM is linked to Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and represents the spirit that brings many people into existence. ADM embodies the human essence that continues in every generation. ADM is also seen as protagonos, the ideal pattern or concept, similar to Plato's idea or logos. It represents the universe, where nature is its body and God is its soul. ADM is considered the first race of humanity, and in a broader sense, the first group of each following race. ADM is associated with the sun, and in the Garden of Eden story, represents a new member seeking knowledge of the mysteries. This one symbol has many meanings. The first man symbolizes all beginnings. In science, he represents mathematics. In knowledge, he embodies pure wisdom. And in religion, he stands for the hidden traditions. This discussion will show how all of this is true. It's also important to note that many characters in the Bible are symbols, rather than actual historical people. It's a mistake to think that honoring history or ancestors brings spiritual value. The real value lies in discovering and applying the timeless truths hidden in the sacred texts of the world. The creation of Adam is described in Genesis 2:7, where it says that God formed man from the dust. In the Kabbalah, this man is called Adam Kadmon, which means a species made from red earth. This red earth doesn't refer to physical soil, but rather to a cosmic idea. The universe is thought to come from a fiery nebula, and this swirling fire mist is what we call red earth. Ancient writings say that the bodies of animals and humans are like coats of skins that come from the auras of a divine race that lived in space, or the Earth's outer atmosphere. This idea needs more explanation. Humans are made up of 3 parts or natures. The first part is the divine principle, which is a spiritual substance that is the same as spirit and space. The second part is a sidereal nature, often called the soul, which is a non-physical body, sometimes referred to as the luminous chiton, the garments of glory, or aura. The third part is the sublunary nature, which is our physical body, and includes systems like muscles, blood vessels, and glands. As spirit, a person exists within the one, which means they are not separate from the divine principle. In the Bible, this connection to the Supreme is shown by the phrase, abiding in Abraham's bosom, which is similar to the concepts of samadhi or nirvana in Eastern teachings. At the beginning of creation, described in Genesis as the 7 days of formation, all living things come from the original unity, and God becomes the gods. The Kabbalah describes this as, the multitudes emerge from the simple unities. The emergence of the gods means they take on the form of individual living beings. The primordial sparks dress themselves in their luminous chitons, or non-physical bodies. Therefore, the gods are seen as spheres of light, and humans are included in this group, having a divine nature that connects them to the supreme light. This idea is represented in the Bible by placing spiritual humans, Adam and Eve, in a perfect place called Eden. In Eden, souls existed only in light and truth, their auras untouched by physical matter. Stories from this ancient time are found in the myths of many old civilizations. The Gnostic hymn of the Robe of Glory beautifully describes Eden as the homeland that all humans are searching for. With this understanding, the mystery of Eden can be easily revealed. The Adamic being is given control over the garden, which symbolizes the astral world, often referred to as astral or magical light by transcendentalists like Levi. A similar garden appears in the story of Parsifal, where Klingsor tries to trick the Knights of the Grail by creating a magical garden filled with sensory delights. In some ancient texts, the universe is compared to a garden, with planets and suns seen as flowers blooming in space. With Adam, who represents humanity, came the seeds and beginnings of other life forms. In Genesis 2:19, the creating power makes the animal kingdom, and Adam uses his intellect to name or understand all of creation. The next important story is about the creation of Eve, the female or negative principle. To grasp this, we need to understand that the original Adamic man, or spirit, was androgynous, meaning it had both male and female traits. According to ancient Jewish legends, Adam was created with two faces and two bodies joined back to back, each facing a different direction. In the authorized version of the Bible, it says that God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and from his side, Eve was created. Genesis 2:21-23. Eve represents the etheric principle, which Plato called the principle of generation. This principle comes from the aura, in a way similar to how a snail's hard shell comes from its soft body. The etheric body, or feminine principle, is described in Genesis as the tempter. Misunderstanding the meaning of temptation and fall has led Christian theologians to view all women as symbols of temptation and corruption. The old saying that with Adam's fall we all sinned is one of the most ridiculous mistakes in theology. It's clear in the scriptures that the letter of the law kills, especially in this case. The entire Christian idea of redemption and the role of Christ in Orthodox beliefs is based on a literal and misguided understanding of an ancient Chaldean myth that has been mistaken for both history and scripture. The third chapter of Genesis starts by describing the serpent and tells the story of the temptation and fall of the first man. According to ancient Jewish teachings, the serpent symbolizes Samael, the archangel of Mars, and the master of astral light. In the Bible, serpents often represent forces or energies moving through space. The Midgard snake from Nordic mythology and the Orphic serpent wrapped around the egg of the year both symbolize the zodiac and the sun's path. In Egyptian culture, the upright serpent and the hooded naga from India and Cambodia represent the spiritual energy within humans. The winged serpents of Gobi and the Taoist dragons from China symbolize both the soul's psychic forces and the enlightened ones, or skymen. Similarly, the Native American tribes in the Southwest use serpent symbols with the same meanings, and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered snake from Central America, represents an initiate or high priest. The Druid priests in Britain and Gaul referred to themselves as serpents, which are also the snakes that St. Patrick is said to have driven out of Ireland. People reading the Bible should know these symbols, as a deep understanding is needed to interpret the serpent's meaning in Genesis correctly. The astral light that Samael controls is connected to imagination and desire. In the Kabbalah, Samael is seen as the adversary, but the authorized version of the Bible doesn't explain why a wise creator would place the tempting serpent in the garden to lead humanity astray. The key to understanding this riddle lies in Persian metaphysics, which comes from the ancient religious teachings of both the Near East and the Far East. These teachings explain that good and evil are simply different aspects of the same one principle. For example, creation brings forth countless lives that were once dormant in the infinite. In this sense, creation is a form of release or expression, which is good. However, creation also sets limits and boundaries in space. Therefore, the world that offers humans opportunities to grow can also feel like a prison, making it seem evil or a challenge for the divine self that must exist in the confines of physical matter. Consequently, every act of creation is described as bringing forth both a good spirit and an evil one. A simple example of this is the modern issue of invention. Whenever someone creates a new and helpful improvement to make life safer and more comfortable, there is often a downside. Good laws can be misused by selfish people, and great ideals can be twisted for many purposes that don't align with the original vision. Early humans understood this, and ancient scriptures teach that the universe is a battleground of good and evil forces, which they called gods and demons. Just as God represents all the good forces, the negative forces are often represented by a single figure with different names, such as Satan, Lucifer, Yama, Loki, Hades, or Kali. In Genesis 3, the adversary is Samael the serpent, who, like Mephistopheles, represents a spirit of negation, part of a power that can do good while also plotting harm. According to Pythagoras, true wisdom comes from unity, meaning that division creates desire. Desire only exists because of the belief in differences, as wanting something is one of the first illusions we face. Desire can lead to many other problems and is rooted in ignorance, specifically the inability to see the underlying oneness of everything. In this diagram, Adam Kadmon, the first man, is shown crowned with celestial glory. His body has symbols representing the 10 worlds or emanations. From this figure, we understand Adam as the cosmos or the one life, which expresses itself through what Pythagoras called the decimal system. In this symbol, Adam also represents the tree of life, giving a deeper meaning to the biblical story of the first man. The chapter goes on to explain that there are 2 trees in the Garden of Eden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. The symbolism of trees needs a little explanation. The world tree often represents the Earth's axis in many ancient myths. Trees also symbolize evolution and growth because all life, like trees, comes from one root and seed and spreads out into different forms. The Kabbalistic tree of the Sephiroth, with its 10 symbols, is based on the tree of life found in Eden. Trees symbolize racial development, and many forms of evolution are represented as trees, just like family trees. Different trees have unique meanings. For instance, the pine tree, which became the modern Christmas tree, and the cedars of Lebanon, a title for an ancient group of priests. The word druid is thought to mean tree, and the dryads were the tree spirits in ancient Greek mythology. All these interpretations are important, but there's another one that is more relevant. In the human body, there are 2 main systems: the tree of life, which represents the arterial system with its roots in the heart, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which represents the nervous system with its roots in the brain. These 2 trees are physical representations of a complex network of energy currents in the aura, or non-physical bodies. In medieval art, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was often shown as an apple tree. This fruit is linked to 2 significant events in human history: the apple that Eve ate and the apple that fell on Newton's head. Both apples have changed history. However, older mystical writings show the tree bearing a pomegranate instead. Greek statues of the goddesses Kore and Persephone often depict them holding pomegranates, which were also part of the rituals in the Eleusinian mysteries and seem to be the original apple mentioned in Chaldean traditions. Madame Blavatsky, in her work Isis Unveiled, explained that the 3rd chapter of Genesis is part of an ancient mystery ritual that represents the initiation process into higher levels of esoteric knowledge. In the Kabbalah, Adam is said to have attended a school of angels in heaven, where he learned the keys to secret teachings that have been passed down through a line of initiated priests since the beginning of human awareness. The angel Raphael visited Adam and Eve in the garden and talked to them about the mysteries of the soul. According to Madame Blavatsky, when Adam disobeyed and ate the forbidden fruit, it symbolized an attempt to gain esoteric knowledge without proper initiation. This means he broke the rules of the mystery schools and tried to access divine knowledge without permission. As a result of this violation, early humanity was cast out of a spiritual state, leading to what is known as the symbolic fall. Another important interpretation is that the serpent represents the intellectual principle. This aligns with Jesus' words in the New Testament, "Be ye wise as serpents." The intellectual principle encourages self-awareness and personal responsibility, which is seen as leaving the innocent state of the Edenic garden and entering a more complex understanding of life. As primitive humans developed their thinking skills, they became more focused on the outside world. They moved away from inward contemplation of spiritual ideas and started to recognize an external life. Over time, their inner senses became less active, while their ability to perceive the outside world grew stronger. As a result, people today have very little inner life and are overly aware of external circumstances. The inner life represents a perfect, Eden-like state, while the outer life is seen as a fallen state. The resurrection promised by the Messiah is about restoring this inner life and overcoming the challenges of the external world. This idea is reflected in the teachings of Buddha and is a key part of Plato's philosophy. The creating power, as the law of nature, places a curse on those who disobey. They become trapped in a cycle of birth and death, no longer guided by inner light, and must struggle to survive in a world filled with doubts and fears. Ixion is bound to his wheel, symbolizing how the cycle of necessity controls the divine spark within humans. In Genesis 3:21, it is said that the creating power made coats of skin for Adam and Eve. These represent the physical bodies that cover their immortal lives. Humanity's memory of its heavenly state is hidden by the material world, and people are cast out of a peaceful existence. At the entrance to Eden, the creating power placed cherubim and a flaming sword to protect the sacred garden, preventing Adam and his descendants from returning. Interestingly, when Solomon built the everlasting house, he also placed cherubim with flaming swords on the temple doors. This is crucial to understanding the mystery of Eden, which is the first holy of holies. Its meaning is the same as the Adita in ancient temples. It represents the heart and sacred space. It symbolizes a state of holiness. The temple is not just a physical building. It represents a state of consciousness and inner realization. Those who achieve this understanding enter the holy place, which is protected from those who are not worthy by gatekeepers or initiators. Philo-Judaeus suggested that the cherubim represent clouds or barriers that hide Eden from those who are unworthy. These clouds symbolize the ignorance and darkness of those who have not yet been redeemed, which will always obscure sacred truths.